Time for Bucket Talks. I forgot the hashtag. My goodness, how did I forget the hashtag? I forgot the hashtag. Time for Bucket Talks. Let's sit on the bucket in the backyard and have a little talk about business for a while. Okay? I love buckets, so we're going to spend a little time on the bucket today. And just a little time, not very much. It's Wednesday. Wednesday is the Power Hour day. So later I'll be doing a webinar later on today. Don't forget, this is Power Hour day. If you're interested in the Power Hour and finding out what we do in that Power Hour, this week we're talking about funnels. Last week I gave you a brief introduction. This week we're going to get more detailed into funnels, and we're going to talk about how messaging impacts those funnels. And so this week's live feed corresponds fairly well with the Power Hour, and to talk about funnels and how you reach people, how you connect with them, and how you contact them, how you touch them, how you do those kind of things. As a matter of fact, touch is going to be one of those things. How 5 touches to convert a document that I wrote back in my sales training days will be available in that webinar. So if you sign up for the Power Hour webinar today, you'll get that 5 touches to convert. Something that I learned from someone in the woodworking industry, which was an amazing marketing skill called 5 touches to convert. So I'll be sharing that in the Power Hour today. But today we want to talk about, in this bucket talk, we're going to talk about messaging. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about messaging, because yesterday I kind of introduced the messaging idea, talking about the Ozzy Osbourne, what did Ozzy just say? Talking about that and how that oftentimes people's messaging is very confusing. So I decided very early this morning that I would do a little background and just take a look at what events were being held today and how were they being talked about, because I wanted to find out what was going on around the world today. And so I took those topics that are being discussed in conferences and webinars and seminars all over the country. I took those topics and I looked at those from how impactful is this messaging? And what are people doing today? Because I've done this over the years. I did that 20 years ago. I've done it 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I decided to just take a look today. How impactful are people's messaging? And let me put this as clearly as I know how. They suck just as bad today as they always have. Just nothing has changed, especially in the areas that we're trusting people to give us quality help in those arenas. And I'll tell you one of those: education. If you want to be confused about what's going on, read the announcement from an educators conference about what's happening, because you end up going, what the hell did Ozzy just say? You have no idea what was just communicated. So that messaging's got to get better. It's got to get better. So if you have good messaging, you will stand out in the business. If your business has good messaging, not about you, but about the customer. If you have messaging about the customer, then it'll make a difference. All right, so I'm going to talk about the anatomy of a good message. And I'm going to give you 2 from my past. Okay, so give me an opportunity to share those 2 messages from my past, and I can assure you that you either need to hear this or there's somebody you know who needs to hear it. So don't hesitate to share these messages. These Facebook Lives are for other people, okay? They're for the benefit of other folks, and we want them to be able to take advantage of that. So let's talk about the anatomy of a good message, all right? Yesterday I said I like to use the word I help. And I've always tried to frame my message with those 2 words at the beginning: I help. It's the only time I want to talk about me. I want to talk about the benefit to the other person, but I want to initiate it not with what I do. And I'll give you 2 of those. I used to be a sales rep, and then I was a sales trainer in industrial sales, and we sold equipment, okay? And the industrial sales equipment that we sold, obviously we had a brand on it, and obviously it came in a yellow box, and obviously it had a title and a tagline and all the stuff that went with that, none of which made any difference to the business owner at all. And so let's start with, how did I change my message there? And this is what I said: I help shop owners. Now, I've just identified my market. I help shop owners reduce the time from first coat of finish to delivery of product by a day and a half. Giving them back 3.5 weeks of productivity time over the course of a year. That's huge, right? Now, I've identified my market. Let's take a look at the anatomy of this. I've identified my market. My market was the shop owner. All right? And the benefit that I'm giving to that shop owner is I'm going to help him to reduce his time from the first coat of finish to the delivery of the product. We're going to reduce that time by a day and a half. Now, a day and a half is a lot of time when you're talking about shop hours and paying people for shop hours and paying for the electricity, paying for the utilities and insurance and all the stuff that goes with that. And giving them back 3.5 weeks over the course of a year, in many cases, meant that they could do another job in that course of time. And another job could be anywhere from $8,000 to $25,000. That's a big deal, especially when we're talking about a piece of equipment that sells for around $1,000. That's a big deal. So the anatomy of that particular message was, I help. So far, I haven't told them what the product is, because they don't care about the product, they care about their time, and time was valuable to them. So being able to talk to them in terms of time, I call that dollarization. Now, I'm not going to talk about dollarization today. I'm saving that for another time. I love to use the term dollarization. Some people talk about the value. I call it dollarization because the dollarization comes from, let me explain to you where it comes from. It's a term used to identify US dollars and how that aligns with a foreign country's currency. What we're doing in this sales conversation here about messaging is I'm aligning those two things. I'm aligning their currency conversation with my product. I help shop owners reduce the time of finish from first coat to delivery of the product by a day and a half. Now, I've just aligned my product with their currency. Their currency is time. So that's the anatomy of that specific messaging system. That makes sense? Second one, I moved from that industry to the insurance industry. You talk about two polar opposites. So Eric, how are you going to be able to do this in the insurance industry? Because they have all of this stuff that's tightly regulated, and every message and every term has to be compliantly approved and all of that. How are you going to handle that? In exactly the same way. I'm going to talk in terms of what's going to be the benefit for the other person. Still going to do that. I don't care what the compliance regulations are. I'm going to talk about in terms of what's going to be beneficial to them. So this was my message in the insurance company. We sold employee benefits, all right? So this was my message. It took me forever to craft this message. It was hard. This is the anatomy of a carefully crafted message that's meaningful to the business owner. So this was my message. I help employers. We're in the employee benefits business, so I want to talk to the employer, right? I help employers help their employees. 3 things: happy, healthy, and on the job. Happy, healthy, and on the job. I help employers help their employees be happy, healthy, and on the job, so that they can create a more productive work environment. Now, there's a lot of detail behind that. It sounds very simple. It sounds kind of quirky. It sounds like nothing you've ever heard about anybody who ever was in the insurance industry. But if I walk in and talk to an employee, I'm an insurance agent, immediately their mind shuts off, right? But if I talk about being a benefit to their employees that creates a more productive environment, now I've got something. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to communicate. Make sure your message captures their attention and then gets them to inquire, thinking about, what can I do with the day and a half if I had a day and a half back? Could I go to the beach? Could I add another job? What could I do? It's a benefit to them. Employers. Most employers understand. And if they don't, it gave me a great opportunity to talk to them about that a happy employee is 55% more productive than an unhappy one. 55% more productive than an unhappy one. So let's focus some attention on how can we make that employee happy, because that creates a more productive work environment. Now, that happy, healthy, and on the job is loaded from objections that I had heard. The best way to deal with an objection is put it in your message, right? Put the answer to the objection in your message so that it's been eliminated before it ever came up. Happy, healthy, and on the job. And healthy part was because we had benefits that paid if a person got certain things checked out. Prostate exam, mammogram, screening for diabetes, those kinds of things would make a huge difference. Employer would say, we've got 200 employees and we don't have anybody who has a problem with diabetes. You want to bet? I can promise you 6 of your employees have diabetes right now and they don't know it. And it's impacting their ability to work every day. Really? Do you understand? So you have to have thought behind the message. Not easy to craft a message. It requires some thought. It requires some research. It requires some background. It requires some study. It requires some understanding. That's what we help people do. All right? My statement is simple makes awesome easy, and it's because it does. When you take complex things, and I've discovered this, that the average business owner does some amazing things with their business, and they do a terrible job of communicating it. And because they do amazing things in their business, and they do a terrible job of communicating it, what happens is that not the people that need to be impacted the most are never reached. Your message makes all the difference in the world. It's the thing that grabs that person where they're at and brings them to where you want them to be. I help employers help their employees be happy, healthy, and on the job so that they can create a more productive work environment. I help a shop owner reduce the time from first coat to delivery by a day and a half so that they can add 3.5 weeks to their schedule every year. How powerful is that? See, that's a lot more important than, hi, I'm Eric, I'm with Turbine Air, I sell spray equipment. Or, hi, I'm Eric, I'm with such and such life insurance company, and we sell these employee benefits. And they're like, heard that all the time. You want your message to be unique. You want your message to be specially crafted so that it captures the other person's attention and then leads them to where you want them to go, removing objections along the way. All right? Messaging is so important. That's the reason why I spent so much time on this. Messaging is extremely important. I have some things for you tomorrow from the research that I was doing this morning that I will share with you, and a whole bunch of stuff that I brought in from the past. Okay? But I just wanted to verify that with what was going on today to see if messaging is getting any better, and it's not. It's just as bad as it's always been. But it doesn't have to be for you. Make your message as meaningful, and things will be different, okay? All right, thank you for joining me today. I look forward to talking to you really soon. I love you. I really appreciate you spending this time with me on The Bucket today. Leave a comment below. Don't forget the Power Hour. If you're interested in the Power Hour, make sure, because it's not an hour, okay? That's part of my message. Part of that's important, okay? I tell you it's a Power Hour, but I promise you it's going to be 40 minutes. Always 40 minutes, okay? So this afternoon, 1 o'clock, we do the Power Hour. Power Hour is right here, 1 o'clock, and it's 40 minutes. It's not an hour. Has a very unsexy name, Power Hour, but it's amazing content. Don't miss it. If you're interested in the Power Hour, put Power Hour in the comments below, and I will make sure that you get an invite to that. Okay? Thank you for joining me today. I love you. I look forward to talking to you soon.